On to some breaking news developments coming in right this minute. Russia-US diplomats to meet in Istanbul on Thursday, as per the latest that's trickling in right this minute. And in fact, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov says Russian and US diplomats will discuss systemic problems in the operation of their two countries' embassies. Lavrov going on to say, I'm quoting here, its results will show how quickly and effectively we can move forward. The Russian Foreign Minister's statement, remember, coming on an official visit to Qatar. Listen in.
Our diplomats, high-level experts, will meet with US colleagues and consider systemic problems that have accumulated as a result of the illegal activities of the previous administration in creating artificial obstacles to the activities of the Russian embassy in the US. Naturally, we responded in kind and also created uncomfortable conditions for the work of the American embassy in Moscow.
And with us on the broadcast this minute is Fred Vier, a journalist and political commentator from Moscow. Thanks very much for being here, Fred. Let me begin by asking you for your assessment of what Sergey Lavrov is saying here and the message that's being sent out.
This meeting that should take place tomorrow, it's the kind of meeting that would have been unthinkable just over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, unimaginable. But now I think you're going to get used to treating them as routine and not breaking news, because this is a technical meeting between diplomats who will start repairing the massive damage that was done to diplomatic ties in the past, not just the past 3 years, but really the past decade. Embassies have been whittled down, staffs fired, numbers of permitted diplomats reduced, consulates closed. It's just so much damage to that infrastructure of diplomatic ties between the United States and Russia has accumulated. And I guess this group of diplomats will meet and begin trying to unravel it, to try to restore diplomatic ties to some form of normality, as should be between two nuclear-armed superpowers.
Indeed, when you talk of repairing those ties, what are the larger implications, according to you, of that? And also, what more do you think lies ahead as far as those attempts are concerned? What more could we see coming in on the horizon?
Well, it's not just diplomatic ties that have been ruptured nearly totally over the recent years. It's everything. You know, I'm a Canadian. I live in Moscow. I can't send a letter to Canada by post because the connections between postal services were ruptured quite some time ago. On every single level, there are virtually no channels of communication working, no contacts, none of those standard things that make civilization run exist between Russia and the United States and Russia and the West largely as well. Airline links, borders are closed all along Russia's European frontier. So when the Americans start thawing this out with Russia, I think other European allies will follow. So I think over the coming weeks and months, we can expect just a lot of working group meetings like this, trying to set things back to some kind of working normality.
Right. Before we move on and let you go, Fred, I want to also get in a quick comment on what this means coming in the backdrop of all that's been said about abandoning Ukraine and the way Russia and US have been coming closer. Another round of talks now taking place. And the solidification of the ties, as we've been talking about.
I don't think it's clear to the Russians, and I certainly don't understand what Donald Trump is actually doing. I don't believe that he's pro-Russian, but he is trying to get ahead of reality. As far as I can assess it, the Americans, or at least the Trump administration, has decided that Ukraine has lost the war, and they don't want to own the defeat. They want to turn it to advantage by framing a peace settlement that will be profitable for the United States and make Trump look good, too, by the way. So I think that the Russians are willing to go along with this because it is tremendously beneficial for them. I don't think they're giddy in the Kremlin, but I think they're pretty happy with these developments. They were quite unexpected, quite momentous, and now impossible to put back into the box. So whatever follows now, I think most likely some kind of peace negotiations will begin within a few weeks.
We're leaving it there for the moment, Fred. Thanks very much for joining us here.
Thank you.
To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.